Ladies and gentlemen, champions in the making, I want you to hear me loud and clear today. You were not created to blend in. You were created to stand out. But here's the truth. You don't stand out by trying to impress everybody. You stand out by focusing on you, by sharpening your gifts, upgrading your mindset, and becoming undeniable. And sometimes the loudest power move you can make is complete silence. Let your growth speak. Let your results speak. Let your life speak. Focus is your superpower, not talent, not resources, not even opportunity. Why? Because none of those matter without the ability to lock in. Focus is the force that turns average into excellent, potential into performance, and dreams into reality. In a world where distractions are constantly competing for your attention, the rarest skill and the most valuable is the ability to say, this is what matters and everything else can wait. People talk about multitasking like it's a flex, but multitasking is just doing multiple things poorly. True progress doesn't come from spreading yourself thin. It comes from going deep, and you can't go deep without focus. Every successful person you admire didn't get where they are by trying to do everything. They focused, they cut off the noise, locked in on a goal, and gave it everything they had. That's how breakthroughs happen. Not by dabbling, not by dipping a toe in 5 different streams, but by planting both feet right where it counts. Focus is the discipline to tell yourself no. No to distractions. No to unnecessary drama. No to temporary pleasure that delays permanent progress. Because every yes to something small is a no to something greater. You can't say yes to your calling and yes to comparison at the same time. You can't chase your vision and chase validation too. One will have to go. And focus helps you choose the one that actually matters. Let's get real. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they're inconsistent. They get excited, they start strong, but they get bored, they get distracted. The moment results take time, the moment progress is an instant, they shift their focus. And so they start over again and again and again. That's not lack of talent, that's lack of focus. The person who stays the course always outlasts the one who keeps switching track. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine 2 people given the same task, to dig for water. One person grabs a shovel and digs 10 feet in 10 different places. The other digs 1 deep hole every single day in the same spot. Who's going to find water? The one who stayed focused, not the one who kept changing direction. That's the power of focus. It compounds, it digs deep, it finds results. Let me tell you a short, true-to-life example that drives this home. There was a young man who wanted to build an online business. He was talented, good at marketing, had solid ideas, even a great product. But he had a problem. Every time a new strategy popped up on YouTube or Instagram, he'd drop everything and try it. One week it was drop shipping, next it was crypto, then he wanted to be a life coach. And every time he'd build, halfway he'd get frustrated and jump ship. He spent 2 years doing that. Nothing to show for it but screenshots and regrets. Now, contrast that with another guy he used to follow. This guy picked one niche, built one offer, and stayed committed to mastering that one path. While the first guy was still starting over, the second guy had already built momentum, created impact, and was generating income because he focused. The first guy had more talent, but the second one had more focus. And guess who's winning? Focus is what makes your actions count. It's the engine behind every great achievement. It's the reason elite athletes train relentlessly for years for a few seconds on the world stage. It's why successful entrepreneurs don't jump at every trend. They lock in on their vision, even when no one else believes in it yet. Focus is the quiet fire behind every world changer, every legacy builder, every name that history remembers. Because when you focus, you become dangerous. You stop getting pulled by opinions. You stop chasing trends. You stop apologizing for your ambition. You step into a different kind of power, a power that builds things, moves people, and shifts atmospheres. A power that isn't just loud, it's effective. So protect your focus like your life depends on it, because in many ways, it does. Your future depends on it. Your breakthrough depends on it. Focus isn't something you stumble into. It's something you fight for every single day. And if you can do that, if you can master the ability to focus, you'll be unstoppable. You won't need to chase success because success will have no choice but to find you. Silence is often misunderstood. In a world that constantly rewards noise, attention, and visibility, people assume that being loud is being strong and being silent is being weak. But let me tell you something most people miss. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. Silence is the armor of the focused, the weapon of the wise, and the secret of the successful. Not everything needs a reaction. Not every opinion deserves your response. Not every challenge requires your energy. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing and just keep building. In silence, you preserve your energy. In silence, you protect your vision. And in silence, you plant the seeds that later shake the world. Too many people talk themselves out of their breakthrough. They announce every move before they've made it. They speak out of emotion instead of wisdom. They try to defend themselves to people who were never meant to understand them in the first place. But the moment you realize that silence isn't weakness, it's leverage, everything changes. See, silence gives you the space to think clearly. When you're not caught up in reacting, you're free to respond with intention. When you're not wasting time explaining yourself, you can use that time to elevate yourself. Growth doesn't happen in the noise. Mastery doesn't come from constant conversation. It comes from quiet consistency behind the scenes. Let's be real. Your haters, your doubters, your critics, they want you to speak. Because speaking distracts you from building. They want you to get emotional. They want you to slip. But when you stay silent and stay locked in, that's when you win. That's when your results hit differently. That's when your presence becomes louder than your words. Think about it like this. A lion doesn't roar during the hunt. It moves in silence with precision and purpose. It doesn't need to announce its power. It embodies it. And when the time is right, it strikes. That's how you've got to move. Silent, strategic, focused. Let your results do the talking. Let me share a quick example. There was a woman who had a vision to launch her own fitness brand. She shared it with a few people, and instead of encouragement, all she got was doubt. You start a business, there's too much competition. You're not even certified. Instead of arguing, defending, or begging for support, she went quiet. She stopped explaining and started executing. But for 6 months, she disappeared from the noise. No social media flex, no constant updates. She studied, she trained, she got certified, she designed a brand, she built a product, she tested it, she refined it, and when she finally launched, her business exploded. Because while everyone else was still talking, she was working. When people asked her how she did it, she just smiled. She didn't need to prove anything anymore. Her silence had already spoken volumes. Her results were her response. That's the kind of quiet power silence gives you. And let's be honest, sometimes silence is necessary for your own peace. You don't have to be at every argument. You don't need to clap back at every insult. Your time is too valuable. Your mind is too sacred. Your energy is too limited to waste it on people who have no intention of seeing your worth. The most dangerous person in the room is not the loudest one. It's the one who listens, the one who watches, the one who thinks before they move. That's strategy. That's discipline. That's real power. When you're building something meaningful, your brand, your health, your business, your character, you don't need to broadcast it at every step. Keep your head down. Stay focused. Let your growth speak so loudly they'll have no choice but to recognize it, even if they never admit it out loud. And when the moment comes to speak, you'll speak from a place of strength, not emotion. You'll speak with facts, not frustration. And most of the time, you won't even need to speak because success has a voice of its own, and it's louder than anything you could ever say. So remember this, staying silent doesn't mean you're losing. It means you're listening. It means you're learning. It means you're leveling up. Don't let the noise trick you into giving away your power. Master your emotions, protect your mission, and move in silence like a storm that's about to shift the atmosphere. Because silence isn't a retreat, it's preparation. And when you finally show up ready, refined, and undeniable. In today's world, it's easy to confuse noise with progress. We see people talking constantly, posting daily, chasing likes, showing off their lifestyle, and calling it success. But here's the truth the world doesn't always say out loud. It doesn't reward noise. It rewards mastery. The loudest person in the room might get the attention for a moment, but it's the most excellent, the most skilled, and the most disciplined who rise to the top and stay there. You can shout your plans all day long, but if you haven't put in the work to master your craft, your voice will eventually fade into the background. Because noise might create a spark, but mastery creates a fire that never goes out. Mastery is the deep work, the hard work, the long hours that nobody sees. It's repetition, refinement, and relentless consistency. And while others are trying to look successful, the master is becoming it. The truth is, people don't pay for potential, they pay for proof. They invest in those who have taken the time to truly learn, to improve, to elevate. You might get attention with a flashy brand, but you earn respect with mastery. And respect is worth more than likes, more than comments, more than applause, because respect leads to opportunity. Most people get stuck because they're chasing attention instead of ability. They want to be seen before they're truly good. They want to get paid before they've produced real value. But mastery isn't about rushing, it's about becoming undeniable. When you're truly excellent at what you do, you don't have to chase opportunities, they start chasing you. Think about the greats in any field. Serena Williams didn't become a legend by being loud. She mastered her serves. Steve Jobs didn't build Apple by being flashy. He obsessed over design and user experience. Beyoncé didn't become an icon by talking about her greatness. She rehearsed harder than anyone else. Mastery was the foundation. Noise was just the echo of their excellence. Let me give you a simple, powerful example. There were two photographers who started their businesses around the same time. One was constantly online, posting every day, talking about grind mode, showing behind the scenes shots, hyping up every client meeting. The other barely posted at all. Instead, he was quietly studying light, practicing new editing techniques, learning storytelling through images. He wasn't loud, but he was locked in. A year later, the first photographer had followers, but his business had flatlined. Why? Because the quality of his work hadn't grown. It was all image, no depth. Meanwhile, the second photographer, who had stayed quiet and focused, had become one of the most in-demand creatives in the city. Word spread. His name was passed around not because he was loud, but because he was exceptional. That's the power of mastery. When you're great at what you do, people can't ignore it. Your name starts showing up in rooms you've never walked into. Your work starts making an impact in places your feet haven't even been. That doesn't happen with hype. That happens with excellence. This is why the masters don't feel the need to talk all the time. They are the message. They let their work speak. And when they do talk, people listen because their voice has been backed up by value. You don't need to post your every move. You don't need to explain your every strategy. You don't need to show off your grind. Just keep working. Keep refining. Keep getting so good they can't ignore you. That's the real strategy. Because noise fades, but skill lasts. Attention dies, but mastery multiplies. And don't fall into the trap of comparing your quiet season to someone else's loud one. They might be making noise now, but if you're mastering your craft, you're building longevity. While they're chasing moments, you're building a movement. So ask yourself, am I working to be seen or am I working to be excellent? Because the world might notice the loud for a moment, but it rewards the master forever. Don't chase noise, chase greatness. Don't perform, produce. Don't aim to impress, aim to impact. Mastery isn't for the impatient. It's for the focused, the hungry, the ones who want legacy, not just likes. And if you keep showing up, keep sharpening your edge, and keep doing the work that no one else wants to do, there will come a time when your silence breaks and the whole world hears you, not because you shouted, but because you earned it. Peace is not a luxury. It's not a bonus you get once life finally calms down. Peace is a necessity. It's the foundation of clarity, strength, and purpose. And in this loud, chaotic world where everyone's pulling on your time, your energy, your attention, you've got to treat your peace like it's worth millions. Because honestly, it is. Imagine for a second you had a briefcase full of $1 million. Not in theory, real, physical cash. Would you leave it on a park bench? Would you hand it to strangers to inspect? Would you let someone throw dirt all over it just because they were having a bad day? Of course not. You'd protect that briefcase. You'd guard it, lock it up, and only bring it out when it was safe. That's how you need to treat your peace of mind, with the same level of intensity and protection. Because here's the truth most people miss. Your peace is the real wealth. Not just money, not just status, not even success. Peace is what allows you to actually enjoy all of those things. Peace is what gives you the ability to sleep at night, think clearly, move with confidence, and build with endurance. Without peace, even a palace feels like a prison. But with peace, even a storm feels manageable. So why do we keep giving it away so easily? People will drain your peace if you let them. The wrong conversations, the wrong environments, the wrong relationships. They'll slowly eat away at your inner calm. One text, one comment, one argument, and suddenly you're not thinking like yourself anymore. You're reacting, you're anxious, you're off balance. And that's the cost of not protecting your peace. Let's get something straight. You don't owe access to everyone. You can love people from a distance. You can support people without sacrificing yourself. You don't have to answer every call. You don't have to show up to every event. Protecting your peace means knowing that no is a full sentence and it doesn't need a follow-up explanation. Sometimes the most powerful move is not to respond, not to retaliate, not to argue. Just protect your peace and keep it moving. That doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. Some battles aren't worth fighting. Some energy isn't worth absorbing. If it's costing you your peace, it's too expensive. And this doesn't just apply to people, it applies to habits. What are you consuming daily? What are you scrolling through, listening to, watching, feeding your mind? Peace isn't just about what you keep out, it's about what you let in. If all you're feeding yourself is negativity, fear, comparison, drama, then don't be surprised when your mind feels heavy and your spirit feels drained. Guard your inputs like you guard your money. Be intentional with what you read, what you hear, and who you spend your time with. Every conversation is either depositing into your peace or withdrawing from it. And if someone's constantly withdrawing and never depositing, that's a liability, not an asset. So let me give you a real lifestyle example. There was a guy running a startup, smart, driven, full of potential. But every time something didn't go right, client delays, small setbacks, people talking behind his back, he would spiral. He'd spend hours stressing, reacting, texting people to explain himself, arguing in comment sections, trying to prove he was right. He was talented, but constantly drained. One day, his mentor told him something simple. You can either spend your energy protecting your ego or protecting your peace, but not both. That hit him hard. So he made a decision. He started moving differently, stopped engaging in nonsense, set boundaries, turned off notifications after a certain time, stopped attending every argument he was invited to. Slowly, his mind got clearer, his business grew faster, his leadership got sharper, Why? Because his peace was no longer under attack. He protected it like it was worth something. Because it was. And it is for you too. Here's the real shift. Start treating your peace as a priority, not a reward. Don't wait until burnout to protect it. Don't wait until you're overwhelmed to value it. Build your life around peace. Schedule it. Fight for it. Design your environment to protect it. Because when your inner world is calm, your outer world becomes more powerful. People might not understand it. They might say you've changed, that you're distant, that you're too quiet now. Let them talk. You're not distant. You're disciplined. You're not quiet. You're centered. You've realized that not every response is worth your energy, and not every noise deserves your attention. This world thrives on chaos, but you don't have to. You can operate from stillness. You can win from a place of peace. And when you do, you don't just live better, you lead better, love better, and build better. So from now on, guard your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Don't hand it over casually. Don't let anyone rent space in your mind if they're not paying in peace. You are your greatest asset, and peace is your greatest currency. Protect it like your future depends on it, because it does. Everyone wants elevation. Everyone wants to rise, to grow, to live on a higher level. But what most people don't understand is that elevation requires something difficult, something uncomfortable. Separation. You can't take every person, every habit, every mindset, and every distraction with you to the next level. Some things and some people can't go where you're going. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. When you feel the pull to level up, to evolve, to shift into something greater, you'll also feel something else. Distance. And that distance is not always chosen. It's created by growth. You'll find yourself outgrowing certain conversations, losing interest in certain environments, and feeling disconnected from what once felt familiar. That's not something to fear, it's something to respect, because that separation is a sign that you're moving. The truth is, you cannot fly while holding on to what's anchoring you to the ground. Think of a rocket. Before it breaks through the atmosphere, it has to detach from the boosters that helped it lift off. Without that separation, it never reaches orbit. Some people are only meant to get you off the ground, but your elevation will require you to release them if they're no longer aligned with where you're headed. And it's not just about people, it's about patterns. You can't step into your next level carrying the same lazy habits, the same weak thinking, the same fear-based decisions. Your next level requires discipline, not comfort. It requires vision, not validation. So if you want to elevate, you must be willing to separate from what's familiar, from what's easy, and even from what used to work. That's where most people get stuck. They want to rise, but refuse to release. They want to be great, but they don't want to be uncomfortable. They want new outcomes, but don't want to give up old routines. But transformation always comes with a cost, and that cost is usually separation. Let's take an example. There was a young man trying to build a business. He was smart, hungry, full of ambition, but every weekend he was still hanging around the same crowd he grew up with, people who had no drive, no goals, no desire to evolve. They loved him, but they weren't building like him. They didn't understand his vision. And every time he tried to talk about leveling up, they'd laugh it off. Man, you're too serious. Relax. You've changed. At first, he felt guilty, like he owed it to them to stay the same. But one day he realized he was shrinking himself to stay connected, and in doing so, he was delaying his own growth. So he made a decision. He didn't cut anyone off with hate, but he started creating space. He stopped showing up to every hangout. He started spending more time around people who were already where he wanted to be. Mentors, builders, visionaries. It was awkward at first, it felt lonely, but that separation created room for alignment. His mindset shifted, his standards elevated, and eventually his business took off, not because he had more talent, but because he finally had the environment and the discipline to match his vision. That's what separation does. It gives you room to grow. See, the higher you go, the thinner the air. Not everyone can breathe at your new altitude, and that's okay. Some connections were seasonal. Some habits were part of your old chapter. Let them go with gratitude, not guilt. Because when you separate, you're not rejecting others. You're choosing yourself. You're honoring your calling. You're saying, I refuse to dim my light just to make others comfortable in the dark. And yes, it can feel lonely, but elevation often begins in isolation. The caterpillar goes into the cocoon alone. The seed grows in the dark before it ever breaks the surface. The greatest breakthroughs happen in silence, in solitude, in separation. But make no mistake, that separation is sacred. It's not punishment, it's preparation. It's where you become the version of yourself that's ready to step into greater. The world might not see it yet, but deep down you know something is shifting. You know you're being stretched. And when you honor that process, you come out stronger, sharper, and more aligned with your purpose. So if you're in a season where you feel disconnected from the familiar, if the people around you don't quite get you anymore, if your old lifestyle doesn't excite you like it used to, congratulations. You're evolving, you're elevating, and that means separation is exactly what you need. Don't fear it, embrace it. Because when you finally rise into the version of you that's been buried under doubt, distractions, and dead weight, you'll look back at this moment and realize the separation wasn't a loss, it was a lift. It didn't break you, it built you. So hold your head high, set your boundaries with boldness, protect your energy with discipline, and let go of what no longer fits your future. Because where you're going, not everyone is meant to follow. And that's not selfish, that's strategy. Your purpose is not a committee decision. It is not something that needs a group vote or public approval. It was assigned to you, not negotiated by them. When you know what you're called to do, what moves you, what burns inside of you, you don't need to ask anyone if it's okay to chase it. Purpose doesn't need permission. One of the biggest traps people fall into is waiting for someone to validate their dreams, waiting for the right time, waiting until the people around them are comfortable with their growth. But while you're waiting for a green light from people who can't even see your vision, time is passing, opportunities are moving, and purpose is standing right there, wondering when you're finally going to trust it. Here's the truth. Most people won't understand your purpose, not because it's not real, but because it wasn't given to them. Your purpose is custom designed for you. That vision you have, that idea that keeps you up at night, that fire you can't explain, that's yours. It's not a trend, it's not hype, it's destiny calling. And you can't let the fear of being misunderstood make you deny what you were born to do. People will always have opinions. They'll tell you what's safe, what's realistic, what you should be doing. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your life shrinking yourself to fit their comfort zone while your purpose remains buried. But guess what? You were not created to play small. You were created to build, to move, to lead, to change something. That won't happen if you keep asking for permission to be great. Purpose doesn't knock politely. It doesn't whisper. It speaks boldly, and it expects you to respond with the same energy. Purpose says, let's go. It doesn't say, let's wait until they approve. Your job is to walk forward even when they don't clap, to take action even when they doubt you, to believe even when the support is silent. Let's take a real example. There was a young woman with a passion for wellness. She wanted to start a brand centered on holistic health, mindset, and self-love. But the people around her didn't get it. They told her, that space is too crowded. You need to play it safe. Just get a regular job. And for a while, she listened. She played small. But that fire wouldn't leave. Every time she tried to settle, her purpose tugged at her soul. One day, she stopped asking. She stopped explaining. She stopped trying to convince anyone. She started creating content. She built her brand. She showed up online consistently, shared values, spoke with heart. It was slow at first, no applause, no viral moments. but she stayed focused. And eventually her platform started growing, not because she had permission, but because she had conviction. A few years later, that same brand became a six-figure business. She was invited to speak, to teach, to lead wellness retreats. The same people who once questioned her, now they ask her how she did it. What changed? She stopped waiting. She understood her purpose didn't need permission, it needed action. That's the shift you have to make. Stop explaining your vision to people who were never assigned to understand it. Stop waiting for the world to give you a green light. If you have breath in your lungs, ideas in your mind, and passion in your heart, that's your sign. You are qualified. You are ready. And you don't need their approval to begin. Purpose will stretch you. It will make you uncomfortable. It will force you to grow into a stronger version of yourself. And some people will fall away in that process, not because you're wrong, but because they're not meant for your next level. That's not rejection. That's refinement. Let them go. Let their doubts roll off your shoulders. You're not here to blend in. You're here to stand out. And standing out means moving before the applause, building before the recognition, believing before the evidence. Yeah. You don't need a title to lead. You don't need a crowd to begin. You don't need a platform to make an impact. You need faith. You need focus. You need the courage to say, this is mine, and I'm going after it with everything I've got. Purpose has a tone. It doesn't beg, it declares. It doesn't ask, is this okay? It says, this is necessary. It doesn't ask people to understand, it invites them to witness. And even if no one sees it right now, even if you feel like you're building in the dark, know this, every step you take in alignment with your purpose is never wasted. You're not behind. You're not late. You're becoming. So stop waiting, start moving. Stop apologizing, start walking in boldness. Your purpose is your permission. Act like it. So here's the charge today. Focus on your lane. Starve your distractions. Multiply your efforts. And keep your mouth closed until it's time to open doors. Because you weren't made to just survive, you were made to dominate. Your future is too important to waste on noise. Your destiny is too valuable to rent it out to opinions. So stay quiet, stay focused, stay dangerous. And when it's time to speak, let your results do the talking. Thank you.